everybody! Today I come to you with a low quality, super quick wrap up because I have no time to do this. I wanted to talk to you about when I managed to read this Booktube-a-thon. I hope you guys had a great week and that you managed to get through everything you wanted to get through. I managed to actually do everything except the video challenges. Like, I did all the reading challenges and I did like 3 of the Instagram challenges and it was so much fun. I didn't manage to do every single video challenge, but other than that, I basically feel like a winner of Booktube-a-thon. So let's start at the beginning. First of all, when midnight struck on August 3rd, I decided to go with the challenge of read the last book you acquired because that was a novella. I knew it would be really short, really fast, and I hoped I'd be able to kind of knock it off right away before I even went to bed, and I did. It was called Rise by Amanda Sun. It's basically the story of these 2 side characters who are the main character's best friends that are like normal because it's a paranormal story, and they're the only ones that she stays in contact with, basically, that she's close to, that are not involved in any of the paranormal stuff. They're really cute characters and I really enjoyed them in the main books, and so I was like, why not? I'll read the novella. It's basically their little kind of love story, the 2 of them. And I was kind of hoping the whole thing would be their story. I didn't realize at first that it was 2 alternating stories. So half the chapters was their story and the other half was a story from Japanese mythology, and it was really cool. I liked that story. It's just that I didn't feel like they actually paralleled much and I didn't really see like why they were both in there. I don't know. I kind of just wanted more of the Yuki and Tanaka and nothing else. It was okay, you know, whatever. It was a fun, quick little read. And it knocked off 1 book and 1 challenge right away, so that was good. After that, the rest of August 3rd, I decided to read My Name is Mina by David Almond. If you've ever read Skellig, also by him, it's kind of a prequel. It takes Mina's perspective and it's sort of like a journal. Basically, the main character in Skellig, Michael, meets this really quirky, strange girl named Mina during the book and they become friends. It's her story of what her life was like before the events in Skellig happened. It was super sweet and a really fast read, and I loved how they varied the font and it really looked like a journal. You know, it had like some things in her handwriting and she would bold certain words and write them over again, and she'd have random poetry, or they would be like a blank page and she'd be like, just take the time to reflect. And so it was super cute and just such a creative thing, and I really enjoyed it. After that, I thought I was going to move on to a book that was on my Kindle, but instead I got a package from Book Outlet in the mail that day. It's a package I'd been kind of waiting on because I sent it to the wrong address originally, like a total idiot. And it finally arrived kind of out of nowhere, and it was perfect timing because inside it was The Ice Dragon by George R. R. Martin, which is a super short story. A huge portion of the book has these awesome illustrations and it is super enjoyable. It's meant to be a children's story, I think, but because it's George R. R. Martin, there can't be 0 death and destruction in there, so there's some of that too, so it might actually be too scary for some kids, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful and simplistic, but in like a wonderful kind of fable-ish way, which I think it's supposed to be, and I just loved the way that he did the dragons. It's as though they were truly built of the elements that they kind of represent. So like the ice dragon was actually really truly made of the cold and made of ice. It was affected by temperature. Like the ice lizards, these tiny little creatures that come in the winter, would actually like melt if you tried to hold them in your hands for too long. I liked that the creatures worked in that way. I thought that was really unique, and I just thought it was really interesting because this takes place, I think, in Westeros, but like eras and eras before the events of A Song of Ice and Fire, and so the world actually works a little bit differently at that point. Really enjoyed that. Glad that I added it to my TBR at the last second. So in total, basically on day 1, I completed 3 books and 4 challenges. The Ice Dragon completed 2 challenges, which were blue on the cover and read a book you really want to read, because I had been dying to read this for a while, and then Rise also completed 2 challenges, which were read a book without letting go of it and read the last book you acquire. So I was already off to a fantastic start. The next day, I decided to turn to my Kindle and read Milkweed by Jerry Spinelli. This story is basically about this young boy who is a gypsy orphan growing up in Warsaw, Poland, like on the streets as a beggar and a thief during World War II. He's basically picked up off the streets by a group of orphan Jewish boys who are a little bit older than him. I think he's only like 6, 7, 8 years old maybe when we first meet him. He has no idea at all of how the world works. He's very naive. He only knows how it works as far as what he can get away with and what he can't. It's just such an interesting perspective because we see his whole view and experiences of World War II. It almost is like a buffer. Like, you see these horrific things, but he describes them in a way that's almost humorous because he's just so out of touch with what's really going on. It's also heartbreaking, and it was beautifully written. I just really enjoyed the way it was done. The only thing that I kind of had an issue with was the whole ending felt very kind of rushed to me. About About halfway through starting and finishing Milkweed, I took a little bit of a break and ran out to get coffee with my mom, and we stopped at the library on our way over there because she had to drop something off, and I ended up finding 2 graphic novels while I was in there, and so I brought them home and decided to add them to my TBR, and I decided to just read them right then and there. So I decided to read In My Own Words by Graham Rameau. I'm sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce that. It was weird, but it was funny, and the illustrations were really interesting. It had kind of this gritty, dirty, coffee-stained awesomeness. I enjoyed it. And after finishing that, I read Death Jr. by Gary Whitta and Ted Nafe. Again, I probably butchered those names, but look how cute this looks. It caught my eye immediately, and I wanted to pick it up, and I thought it was hilarious. I absolutely adored it. It just has so many little details in the panels of like signs in the background and all these other things that were all these kind of little gags, and I loved that. I thought the storyline was fun. I thought the characters were really fun. I laughed through this whole book and just really enjoyed myself. It was a perfect thing to kind of break up all the reading I had been doing previously, and so I enjoyed both of those a lot, and that was 2 more books done, and so that was not fulfilling any of the challenges, but just going towards the 7-book total, and I think Milkweed also was doing that. So yeah, this is still day 2, keep in mind. So by the end of day 2, I had technically already finished 6 books, which is basically just the wonderful thing about choosing middle grade and children's lit and graphic novels, is you can zoom through them and just check them off the list really, really fast. It worked out. I basically read through all of those on purpose in the beginning so that I could save some time for the rest of the week to read my adult books, which take me usually a week to finish each when I'm on a normal reading schedule. Stardust I started that night. So that's all that I read actually on day 3. It was just Stardust, and then I finished it up on day 4. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely as fairy tale-esque as I thought it was going to be, or not, maybe not fairy tale-esque, maybe that's the wrong term, but just like the main character is literally going to the land of fairy, and a ton of stuff just kind of happens to him that's all very magical and crazy and random, and it's very dreamlike in a way, because you know how like when you're in a crazy dream, you don't question anything, you just kind of do whatever you think you need to do, and you just go along with whatever story is unfolding in front of you. That's what it felt like. He was just kind of going through this crazy mystical land, trying to find this fallen star to bring back to the girl that he's in love with back in a non-fairy world, and he's just kind of going along with everything, just like, okay, I'm on a cloud now, cool. It had an actual plot arc. It's not like everything that happened was completely random, and I was really interested to see how he was going to get from point A to point B, even though I found the actual storyline a bit predictable as far as like the end result. I enjoyed seeing the journey and how he got to that point. That one didn't actually count for any challenges either, except towards the 7-book goal, but I was another book down, so I felt very accomplished, especially since that was my 7th book already, and I still had 3 days left. On day 5, I picked up Gone Girl because I wanted it to take care of 2 challenges: somebody else's favorite book and read a book where the author and you share the same first letter of your last name. That would be the last book that I'd probably get to, I figured, because if it took me 2 days to read Stardust, I figured it'd probably take me at least 2 days to read Gone Girl, and that I just finished tonight, so that was my 8th book. It took me really only a day and a half kind of to read it because I didn't read anything on Saturday. Oh my god, it was definitely a ride. The first day on Friday that I was reading it, I was like really suspicious of everything that I was thinking, because you know there's gonna be a twist, so I know whatever I'm expecting and experiencing right now, I'm probably gonna be wrong. Clearly this answer that the book is pointing me toward is way too easy, so what's really going on here? I knew that something was gonna happen. I kind of predicted what the twist was gonna be, but not entirely. I didn't quite expect the extremeness of what it ended up being. Let's just say it was quite a wild ride, and I'm glad that I'm finally up to date on it, because everyone else in the world has read or seen the movie. I'm like the last person to, so I'm glad to finally have that one under my belt. And so, in total, I read 8 books, which was 1,546 pages. I did all 7 of the reading challenges, I did 3 of the Instagram challenges, and I did 1 of the video challenges. And so, wow, what? That's crazy. I'm so excited that I managed to do that well. That's way better than I did last year. I don't know, it's just, I feel so good about that. It was so much fun. It was a successful Booktube-a-thon, and I really hope you guys had a fun week and that you got a lot done too, and that you read some good books, and that'll do it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you don't mind that this is a little bit more casual than my usual videos. So this has been a Booktube-a-thon wrap up. My name is Jackie, and I will see you guys in my next video. See ya!